for the first two editions, then with Felix Lubrero from Mania, and now I have the pleasure of working with Shahid for this forthcoming edition. The initiative of DirAP was proposed to an Orbicon annual general meeting 10 years ago by Chin. And since then, we tried to have it sustainable, mainly with the help of one partner, IDRC. So you would accept to join me in the very opening of our meeting to acknowledge the very special contribution of IDRC to believe in this research initiative of the Digital Review of Asia Pacific. We had, for previous editions, the collaboration of other partners with Abdip and Shahid in his previous incarnation for editions 1 and 2, and the World Organization of Francophonie for the second edition, so that it be translated in French and distributed all over Africa and Francophonie, so that people in other regions of the world would learn what you were doing here, but there would be no language frontiers on that. But over the life cycle of DirAP as a whole, our main partner has been IDRC, and I wish to acknowledge their very unique contribution to this initiative. Since the very beginning of our work with Mr. Chin 10 years ago, there were 3 objectives for the DirAP initiative. If I may go back to my old files, the paper is not yellow, but it's because I printed it again 10 years later. We had 3 objectives. If I may quote, 1, to increase the capacity in our regional partners in researching, commenting, and documenting about their own info-states, and broadly monitor infrastructure and content on a broad regional development basis. 2, to analyze what regional and global causes affect change, who benefit from change, and what is necessary to influence change to result in a positive way for communities. It was at the time before the leitmotif of ICT4D. It was a way to refer to ICT for development. And 3rd, to build a community of practice of scholars, professionals, and policymakers of the region, together as authors, so that we could relate to the 3 target audiences of DirAP: scholars, professionals, and policymakers, both in the region and on the international scene. End of quote. Now I can put away my paper. Which means, because of these target audiences, to make sure that we have the bridge with the international audiences, we've taken note, those authors who have been with us for quite a while. We have the privilege of having young and new authors, and we have the privilege of having, I don't want to say old authors, but authors involved in previous editions, because you're still young, even if you've been with us for quite a while. We have had the privilege of launching the 1st and 2nd edition at the UN World Summit for Information Society in Geneva and Tunis. And the 3rd edition was launched last December in KL at the GK3 conference. During the launch of the GK3, to make a transition with your new forthcoming edition, Danny, as one of the co-presenters with Patricia, concluded the launch for DirAP with an exercise, a simulation and investment. What would be the sectors, if you had money to invest in terms of ICT, what would be your priorities? And you have on the screen the results of what the participants at the launching, what they chose. We gave them money, monopoly money, but it doesn't matter, it was for the simulation. And so choose among all the sectors that you see here, which one each of you would like to privilege, would consider the most important in terms of investment. I won't read the list, but for me, Richard, it's a beautiful example from the transition in KL to see what all participants present at the launching ceremony considered as the most important area for investment: ICT for education. which is the team chosen by our editorial board for the fourth edition. So we have here, in terms of focus group, done without influencing their perspective. Very interesting comments from colleagues, all experts in their field, but coming from different parts of the world to focus on ICT4E. I promise, but I want to be short, so I will just make a couple of other points. When we had our last panel of authors in Jakarta with the ASEAN Foundation, some of you were there, we had the honor of having for a whole day the then Secretary General of ASEAN, Mr. Bong, who was quite happy to spend a whole day with colleagues like you and see what you were doing, what you were considering as priorities. Up to the end of the day, to the welcoming dinner like the one we will have tonight, where I couldn't really eat at that dinner because I was leaving my chair for 5 to 10 minutes to each member author of the ASEAN region to come and sit with him and have, not only during the formal meeting, but during the informal part, which is also very important, the opportunity to make their pitch with him. It was a distinctive feature of the last panel of authors. For today, the approach that was to invite colleagues with us for the whole 2 days. We have the whole editorial board will be with us. For the first 2 editions, we didn't have a strong, very distinguished, many people on the editorial board. We were a core team, Maria, Shade, Chin, and me. And then we relied on external reviewers, but we were only 4 people. Since the 3rd edition, we have a full editorial board who was helping us to navigate and to ensure the quality control of our publication, because we are publishing in a very competitive environment, right? So to prepare the 4th edition today, we have the whole editorial board who will be quite involved with us today and tomorrow during the country chapters review. We also have the privilege of having the whole panel team under Laurent's supervision, but all of his colleagues from the regional office here and the headquarters in Agres are with us. And I'm quite grateful for that. And Richard, as the regional director, will be with us most of the day. So you will have the opportunity to exchange and discuss your views and your paper with different colleagues, different perspectives. Only 3 people are absent today, couldn't make it, couldn't accept our invitation of IDRC and review. The first one, Anita from India, for the non-formal education chapter. Her son just died in a car accident, so she couldn't join us, but the paper is in. You will read it, print it, or on the CD. All of us, whatever in our culture in this room, we all have to go through a ritual passage with the death of people around us, generation over, our generation, and the generation following us. The most difficult one is for the generation following us. So we can only offer Anita our best wishes to go through these difficult days while being quite impressed that she could put it, given her paper with her co-authors. Second person who could not come with us for these 2 days is Tenku, or becomes vice president, and from KL, he's organizing a workshop in the next few days on innovation and development. I think our Philippines undersecretaries will be leaving us a little bit earlier tomorrow afternoon, precisely to go to KL to that workshop, so he presents his apology. And the third one is Jem, who will come for health reasons. So I'm quite grateful for Maria and Felix who have jumped in to help me and replace Jem, so that even the menu for tonight has been carefully selected by Maria and Felix. The bus had been reserved. We leave at 6:15 sharp at the lobby. All these things, all the logistics. So if it's okay for who is with us during these 2 days for these brainstorming, my last word on that point would be to say one of the priority of the exercise is the peer review process. But we would like to use it and do it bit like we did in Jakarta, in a constructive mode. If sometimes someone raises a weak point or a dimension that I don't understand in your paper, I'm not criticizing you. I'm saying I don't understand that part of the argument. I'm sure that there's someone in our target audience could not understand it. Could you please elicit it more? Give me more information or do something. It's the rule of the game for the 2 days. When we do this peer review exercise, we need to do it carefully, but in a constructive mode. Nobody, as the individual, is losing face. Do I have the agreement of everybody for that? It's a constructive approach. We won't give you instructions. There's nobody coming from high up there to tell you how to do things. We do it together. But it's very important, and it's my appeal before I conclude in a few minutes, that we have something of good quality because of the competition of our peers. And my invitation for you is to make sure, if I may borrow this copy for a second, the challenge I would like to invite you to face is to do better than what your colleagues for the 3rd edition have made. For those colleagues who were part of the 3rd edition, they can do even better than last time. I see Lydia smiling. I've noticed that it's quite, you've added quite new information from there. So if I come to a close in 1 minute, I would like to end on a personal basis, if I can read my note from the plan. Having served in previous incarnations, like Shahid and all of you have had previous incarnations, having served as a Canadian diplomat in China during Tiananmen, or a UN diplomat in post-conflict social reconstruction, I chose after these different incarnations to come back to the university. Because I think we need to train new generations with up-to-date research results, because they will be facing the challenge. We will, not you, but me, will be getting older soon. And we need to have these new generations train and be competent and be able to innovate. And the other is to make sure that we have independent think tank and research results which are not prisoner of only an ideology or a sponsor. When we launched the DirAP 3rd edition, and I will conclude with that, in Kiev, mid-December, we had that morning an editorial in the International Herald Tribune announcing the release of the World Bank report on the purchase power parity, the report that they were to be released in the next 48 hours after the editorial, where after new research, they were concluding that their figures for the last 15 years, analyzing the purchase, the PPP, it's faster like that, because my English is my fourth language, it's terrible. Analyzing the PPP, they had made so many mistakes that now, for 2007, they were in China, below the poverty line, 200 million people than what they had anticipated with the previous year's methodological approach. I think if you're playing the chairman, Richard has been the most senior here today. I think, Mr. Chairman, for this inaugurating panel, we need hardcore evidence research, independent of any commanditaire, sponsors, logic of interest, so that for decision making, it's quite informed, or better informed. Do you imagine that for the last 15 years, all the PPP reports were wrong? So, 3rd week of December, when the World Bank president went in China, he's mentioned about it 2 minutes. And then his press representative stopped the questions about PPP. And you have not heard too much from them in the media. I have to take note, Mr. Chairman, that the World Bank have a very good communications team to control the negative effects of some of their approach, methodological approach. I hope there's not too many economists in the room. If there are, I will challenge you tonight at the dinner about further discussions on these issues. But my point is not to criticize the World Bank. My point is to see at which level research done with independent think tank is important. And that's what DirAP is about. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very good 2 days of deliberations.